Today I'd like to share some information with you from an article written by Kingsland, the author of Set Our Teachers Free, A Plan to Save Public Education. The article is entitled, Politicians Should Not Be Running Education. I say no. More political interference in education is the wrong way to fix our schools. It simply makes our schools worse. I've been watching and waiting to see what direction Arne Duncan, Secretary of Education, would take with the almost $200 billion in education stimulus money that he has at his disposal. So what's Arne Duncan's big plan? Well, Duncan announced that he wants more mayors involved in running their local school districts, just like Mayor Daley is in charge in Chicago and Mayor Bloomberg is in New York. Secretary Duncan wants mayoral control of our schools because that's the system that he came from in Chicago. And that's worked so well in Chicago, or New York, or Washington, D.C.? I don't think so. Arne Duncan favors mayoral control because he was appointed to his Chicago post by Mayor Daley, even though he had no real previous experience in education prior to his appointment. Now, he may have done a good job of straightening out the finances of the district, but education stayed on a nosedive. The dropout rates in Chicago, while Mr. Duncan was in control, were horrendous, and they simply got worse. Yes, Chicago has barely more than a 50% graduation rate. Almost half of their students drop out. Chicago parents have staged multiple protests about the quality of education their children are getting. They've tried busing their children to other schools, protests, and every other avenue open to them. And now there are numerous news reports of charges of graft and corruption that have been reported in the Chicago Unified School District. These charges are continuing to be investigated even as I speak. I want to clarify that it's not that I believe Secretary Duncan was responsible for the corruption, but balancing a budget is not the same thing as straightening out education. Now, with the new education stimulus monies that Secretary Duncan wants to give to mayors, we may get some bigger and better buildings. But the important thing is students learning. You know as well as I do that with mayors running the schools, it's just too easy for emphasis to go on construction or other things rather than learning. After all, there's more money in a building boom. I want to make it clear that while I don't believe mayors are necessarily corrupt, they are politicians whose primary agenda is to get reelected or move up the ranks. You need to ask yourself, how many mayors owe favors to their political cronies and their supporters? I wonder. Arne Duncan has said that he will feel he has failed at his job if more mayors are not in charge of their school districts by the time he leaves his position. Wow. Unless he was misquoted, and I don't think he was, I'm extremely nervous about the direction he plans to take education, our public schools, and our students. Ask yourself this question. How many mayors do you think are knowledgeable about improving education? And are we supposed to be impressed with what has happened in Chicago, where, once again, Mayor Daley has appointed a non-educationally based crony to take Arne Duncan's place? Common sense tells us that straightening out education needs to be in the hands of people who understand education and who understand how to help students learn. Any political interference in our schools, from the ACLU, other organizations, and even the federal government, has been an ongoing part of the problem in our public schools. I say, sorry, Secretary Duncan, your mayors may give us better-looking school buildings, and oh yes, they'll probably give us better football teams to stimulate the local economy. But my concern, and the concern of most Americans, is straightening out education, straightening out our public schools, and helping our students be successful. Beautiful science labs and gorgeous campuses may look good, but what use are they when our students are falling to the bottom of the heap in international competition? In global education results, our students come in dead last, and our schools are the laughingstock of the globe. We need to get the horse before the cart and not the other way around. It's time to start concentrating on student learning and student success so they can compete in the global marketplace that they'll be facing. Once we get all our schools straightened out, and we're achieving excellence on all levels, then we may be able to afford to have some politicos interfering. But probably not. Let me ask you, do you have an opinion about political involvement in our public schools? Do you think it helps or that it hurts? Leave a comment. Don Kingsland is the author of Set Our Teachers Free, A Plan to Save Public Education, which contains a complete, proven plan for turning our schools around across the country, and quickly. For more information about current events in public education in the USA, or to express your opinion about public education in the USA, go to thekingslandplan.com and setourteachersfree.com. Thank you.